Am I about to make the biggest mistake that I've ever made in my life? Well, you guys, you get to come along for the ride and see exactly what I'm going to be doing, because I'm going to be leaving Canada behind. I'm going to be moving to the country that we're in right now, and we're going to be temporarily living here for 6-12 months. I'm going to explain to you why we're doing this, why so many people are leaving places like Canada, and why we're trying to escape the rat race. For us, we're dual citizens of the UK and Canada, and the thing is, when you're dual citizens, it makes it easy to pick up and move, because the reality is you don't have any ties to places like Canada, which is your second home country. So you're able to go to a different country, no problems, because you don't have the family ties. And me and my girlfriend, we decided that essentially we don't want to have kids. We don't want to be part of this debt slavery mentality that everybody seems to fall into. And it's almost like a trap. I see it all the time. Loads and loads of my friends, loads of people I know, they fall into this trap. They want to own the home, they want to have a child, and then before you know it, they're up to their eyeballs in debt with no hope of ever paying it back. And that never sounded like a great idea to me. And the reality is that we've been lucky in the respect that we've saved enough money up that we can do this, and we have the resources to do this. The reality is I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to be trying to start off multiple businesses in the process. They could all fail, right? It's a real fear that I have, is that happens. And you know what? The reason why I'm being honest about it is because, as you guys know, I'm totally transparent on this channel. I don't try and make things out to be what they aren't. The reality is whatever the reality actually is. And the reality is, for us, we're just not enjoying life in Canada anymore. The cost of living is absolutely out of control and just skyrocketing. The value of the dollar is just going to continue declining throughout the next 10-20 years. People are going to be getting less and less and less. The way I look at Canada is I look at it compared to the UK, and I look at where the UK's gone and what's happened with UK politics and the division and the polarization, and I think, wow, you know, this same thing is happening with Canada. And it's very true, this same thing is happening with Canada. There's more division, there's more polarization. You know, the government has become such a large entity in itself, on its own, that it doesn't even matter if you change the party that's in power. You know, a lot of people think, oh, if I just change that party that's in power, everything's going to change. And those of you that live in the UK know that that's not the case at all. We see it go from party to party, which are pretty similar. Not much changes. You just end up with the same sort of politics that you've had before. You end up with the same sort of policies. You just have different facades. For us now, we've lived in Canada coming up 8 years, and we've seen the rapid decline. And you know, the decline was even happening before that. You know, certain politicians would lead you to believe that there was no decline before a certain politician, who will not be named, came to power, the absolute dictator of Justin Trudeau. You just think in these ways that, oh, these politicians, they're going to come in, they're going to save me. That's just not going to happen. So the reality is that in a place like Canada, it's becoming increasingly unaffordable and increasingly impossible to live. And to offshore yourself at a young age like we're doing is really a great idea if you can do it and position yourself in that way. Now, the reality is, guys, that if you're in a place like Canada, it is very difficult to start off a business whilst maintaining your full-time employment, whilst also trying to do everything else that you do in your daily life. The thing is as well with Canada, it's just completely not energizing where we live. We live in this place called Calgary, which many times in the past and currently right now has been kind of classed as this mecca and one of the best places to live in the world. I think that title in itself kind of is always wrong. So if you ever see any place that says this is the best place to live in the world, and it's, you know, Time magazine or one of these companies, and it's not actual people that are deciding that, actual expats that are voting for that, then you have to be very suspicious of what they're talking about. And you know, it's no different in Canada. The reality is Calgary is not a great place to live. It is winter 8 to 9 months of the year, the temperatures are barely above 10 degrees. And you know, 10 degrees to most people in the world is pretty damn cold. And not only that, the other problem with Calgary is the smoke. It's becoming almost unlivable because of the smoke and the wildfire pollution that is happening on a yearly basis, and it continually gets worse. And in fact, this year in 2024, it's predicted to be one of the worst years because there's already drought and there's not enough snowpack. So they're predicting that the wildfire season could be really, really bad. And I hope it isn't, because it's absolutely terrible. Nobody really talks about the toll it's taking on the locals' health there. People who live there for their entire lives are going to be subject to higher rates of lung cancer, emphysema, diseases that are related essentially to smoking. You know, this smoke that they're inhaling, and PM 2.5 is a carcinogen, terribly bad for your health. It gets into almost every cell in the body. So it's really not a good thing what's going on there. And those of you that know me know that I'm passionate about health. Health is so important, and I believe more and more people should prioritize their health when they actually don't. They just prioritize their emotions, which I think is just a terrible thing to do, because if you're always following your emotions throughout your life, you're never going to be happy. You're always going to be one step behind. And you know, I've seen this play out with so many people. Like I said, I know many people, young people, friends and family back in the UK who've purchased homes, who are now part of this rat race. And are they happy? Not really. It doesn't seem like they're happy. And you know, how can you be happy when you're living in a place that's dark 6 to 7 months of the year, that's raining? It's very, very difficult. And it doesn't matter where you go in the northern hemisphere, you're getting hit in some ways. I know Calgary is on the more extreme side, and the length especially is extreme, but you've got other places that are just as bad, like Vancouver, where it's raining 7 to 8 months of the year. So anyway, as usual with this channel and continuing onwards, I don't know the direction of this channel that I want to take it after we leave yet, but I think I will rebrand it in some way. And you know, the reality is I'm always going to be here just telling you exactly what's going on, exactly how we're finding things, because I believe doing these more transparent videos, which most content creators don't want to do, they just want to simply portray that their life is fantastic and they have no problems, no trials and tribulations. And I think that's utter nonsense, because people need to see all the trials and tribulations, and they don't need to see all the good stuff most of the time, because most of the time people are going to make it out too good rather than making it out too bad. In my experience, they just don't take into account a large amount of the things. So anyway, I want to thank you as usual for following the channel, for sticking with me here, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace and love. Bye bye.